Hello BSS, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here then just welcome. Hi, my name is Brenda. I do mostly paranormal videos here on my channel, so if that is something that you are interested in, please consider subscribing down below and turn on your post notifications so you do not miss when I post another video like this one. Alright, with all of that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into today's video. Hello everybody, good morning. It is morning for me currently. I needed to quickly put my face on and film something because, as I told you guys in my community post, I have not had the time to film. I've just had a lot going on, and then Spooktober just wrapped up. I was doing a lot of editing, like back to back, like 3 videos in a row for the last 3 that I posted for Spooktober, so I was a little bit wiped out, but I am finally here. I gathered up enough energy this morning to put my little setup all together and then sit down and record for you guys. So I am out of breath. It took me like almost 40 minutes to set up, and I was just like, oh my god, can I even finish this in time before I have to go to work? Because I literally have about 2 hours before I have to go to work. And I skipped my workout as well so I could film, so there's a lot going on. But anyway, I know you guys are here for the spooky story, so as you guys can tell by the title, I am going to be reading my subscribers' paranormal stories. And as always guys, if you have any paranormal stories that you personally have in your life that have happened to you, or maybe somebody in your family, a friend, you know, anybody that you know, a coworker, if you guys can send those stories into me, that would be great, as I always need more stories for these videos because you guys really seem to enjoy these. So if you are interested in sending in a paranormal story, please send it to my email. That is the best way for me to find them. I won't read them off of a comment that you left or a DM or anything like that. It is exclusively for my email, which is beyondbsfparanormal@gmail.com. So I will leave it right here. Make sure you guys, take a good look at it, and then also it's always in the description below. So without further ado guys, let's go ahead and get into story number 1 for today's video. I know I look a little bit different today. I don't have my full volume lashes. I did a little bit of a soft natural glam. Okay, all right, so story number 1 is called Creepy Security Story. It says, hello Brenda, my name is Jay, but I go by Jay Gonzo on YouTube. Hi Jay. I wanted to share with you a creepy story I've experienced while working security manager at a casino resort. While posted at dispatch, I received a complaint from the hotel of a woman screaming up and down the hallway on the 5th floor. I radioed a supervisor who was working at the hotel to go check out the complaint. He called back saying, there's nobody up here and it's really quiet. Oh my god, somebody's dog is yapping outside and it's really killing the vibe right now. I was like, excuse me. We never have dogs barking around here, so I don't know what's going on. Okay, sorry. But what he didn't know was we had received 2 more complaints of a woman screaming on that floor while he was walking that hallway. After I told him about the other 2 calls, he said he didn't want to be up there alone checking the halls because that information freaked him out. I imagine there was probably a drunk person yelling and roaming in the building through the stairwells, but that wasn't the case. The next day, my director pulled us aside to inform us of some paranormal activity that's been reported for the past 5 years. Back when the hotel first opened, there was a woman who contacted the hotel stating her daughter had not responded to calls or text messages and has been suicidal when they last spoke. Surveillance looked in the parking lot for the woman's car, but they didn't find it, so they began to assume she left the property. 3 security guards were sent up to her room to make contact, but got no response. One guard said they could hear the TV on and the shower running. Just then, surveillance spotted the woman's car in the lot, so they contacted the police department to conduct a welfare check. Once the police got there and were able to open the door, they instantly smelled a bad odor in the room. After searching the room, they looked into the bathroom and found the woman. She committed suicide and had been in the bathroom with the hot running water for hours or maybe days. After this incident, guests have reported hearing a woman screaming on the 5th floor, the same floor the woman stayed on. I hope you like the story. I have more to send you, but for another time. Oh my god, Jay, that was a really good story. I would love to hear more about, paranormal activity that happens where you work. That sounds super, super interesting, and definitely a lost soul. I could only imagine why there's like so much paranormal activity happening just on that floor, because I mean, sometimes when people do commit suicide, they have a hard time passing over, because a lot of the time they had a lot of unresolved issues within themselves, or with their family, knowing that they left that behind and all of that. So that is super creepy. I got like a little bit of chills while I was imagining just hearing screams in the middle of the night. That is so creepy. I don't like that. But yes, I would love to hear more. That one was really, really fun. I was like, is fun a good word for it? But I mean, sometimes like having people tell you scary stories is fun, right? So I don't know. For me, that one was a fun story, even though it was really creepy. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to story number 2. And this one is titled Mind Trick. And this one says, Lily here. It's been a while since you've made a long video featuring subscriber stories, so I thought I'd send you some. I have never really had any personal encounters, but some people around me do. This is my brother Alec, not his real name. When he was 19, he lived in one of the worst neighborhoods in the city and was barely surviving, because he'd rather go through hardships and be free than to continue the traumatic years of mistreatment by our father. I was 12, surely old enough to understand the situation, and had every right to feel hatred and desire to leave too as soon as I'm able to. But I was too young to actually do it. A year later, he started getting his act together upon living with his then girlfriend, who was a responsible young woman that our father loathed due to being ugly and being from a remote province. His words, not mine. He got a job and was genuinely happier than he has ever been. We started communicating again after 3 years of not seeing each other. One day I visited him while we were watching a local variety show, and the host started making jokes about scaring his girlfriend when he dies. He suddenly gasped. I looked at him and he said, I have something to share with you. This is about the first place I rented when I left home. It's a 3-story, very old and poorly maintained building. That place got a very spooky vibe, really bad energy in a spiritual type of way. I kept getting nightmares about being attacked by a whole class of bald dwarf men that were not humans. One late night, I came home from my friend's place and I didn't feel so good about the thought of them knowing my living condition. I was walking up the stairs when I felt like I was being followed. I turned my head and saw nobody. I calmed myself down, took deep breaths while trying to make it to my unit, but the presence was too strong. I stopped walking and I felt it stop too. My heart was racing like crazy. I didn't know what got in my head, but I came up with the idea of testing it. I lifted my right leg as if I was going to take a step, but stopped halfway with my right foot about 4 inches from the staircase. Then I heard and felt a light footstep behind me. I bolted to my unit and called a random friend as soon as I got inside. I could barely talk, but frantically tried to. My friend got the gist of it and told me, hey, I hear ya. I have spent a night there years ago because a buddy of mine lived there. I was too drunk and thought that we were still at the karaoke bar. I sang my heart out when a bald dwarf man came out of nowhere and knocked me out to sleep with a single punch in the face. My brother was shocked because he never told anyone about his reoccurring nightmares about the bald dwarf men. His friend made my brother promise to not tell anyone about his experience because it'll bring up his past drug problems, causing him to go nuts back in the day. And he is tired of hearing lectures from people left and right. My brother wasn't that much of a scaredy cat before. It just started since he left to be on his own. To be honest, I see it as a case of mental disturbance. I mean, I wouldn't completely go to that. I mean, when you're by yourself, your mind goes to a lot of different places, and a lot of the time you want to fill in the gaps for things, like when there's like a noise happening or you have like a creepy feeling or something like that. Your mind always wants to fill in the gaps, of course, and most likely it's going to be something logical that your mind goes to, but that is so random for it to be specifically little bald dwarf man, like, and then his other friend mentioning the exact same thing. That cannot be a coincidence, right? There had to be something going on there, and you can't even chalk it up to them doing drugs either, because how would they both come up with the same idea in their head without them talking to each other about it, right? That is so creepy. I really enjoyed this story. I would love to hear more from you, Lily. You always have really good stories that you send in that I love using for these videos. They're so much fun. And I hope that your brother is doing better now. Because I mean, he was coming up, right? So he was doing better as of that story that you sent me. But thank you so much, Lily, for sending that in. I really appreciate it, and I really enjoyed it. All right, and on to story number 3. This one is a bit of a long one, my friends, so buckle up. It says, "Hey Brenda, my name is Kyle," and it's an interesting way to spell it, so he let me know how to pronounce it. It's pronounced Kyle for clarity's sake. Sometimes people pronounce it Kylie or Kyler. One time my friend said some guy pronounced it like Keeley. I can see that because there's an H in there. Anyway, I've been watching your videos since August of last year and thought I could share something that happened at my old job. Just letting you know, the story isn't as in-your-face creepy as other subscriber stories were, but I still can't explain what happened, even after thinking about it for like 10 months. Anyway, I hope you enjoy. I was a concierge last year from June to December. It was a pretty okay job, though it gets kinda annoying when as soon as I'd punch in at 3 p.m., I had to pick up where the last concierge left off, like audit packages while also logging new deliveries in the system while the trucks came in, arrange them all on my own, making phone calls and booking services, sometimes all at once. We do this to make sure everything was set for the people who worked on weekdays, though once 7 p.m. rolls around, it usually gets way more chill, since most things slow down except for the occasional DoorDash or Grubhub driver coming in and out, or a resident asking me to let them in their room when they forget their keys. One time around late October, I got a call around 10:30 at night, half an hour before my shift ended. I thought a resident was going to ask me if the maintenance guy was on duty, since I usually get those because nothing ever worked at that place. When I answered it, it was a resident who lived on a higher floor, and her tone was very hushed and she was clearly scared while trying to keep it all in and not be heard by anyone nearby, so much so that I could hear her breathing. That actually got me to sit up. When I asked her if it's a noise complaint, she said she's been hearing constant knocking at her unit door for 10 to 15 minutes before she called me. I asked if it might have been someone she was expecting, and she said she didn't see anyone under the door gap. I told her I'll check it out and see who it is, and when I hung up, I headed upstairs immediately, but I was already pretty nervous. Generally, I want to believe the paranormal is a thing, but I wasn't thinking that at that time. I actually thought someone got in while I was on break, since I live in Washington, D.C., and we have a bit of a crime increase since the pandemic broke out. And also, I'm not a threatening guy at all. I'm barely 5'8" and a twig. I took the key ring for self-defense in case it was anyone dangerous when I got in the elevator. I got to the floor and I made sure my steps were slow and soft, since the hallway floors at the complex were tile and I was wearing dress shoes that made a lot of noise. The whole floor was quiet and I didn't hear any knocking at all. The person's door was past the corner the elevator was on, so I hid behind the wall for a few seconds in case the knocking was going to start again. When I didn't hear anything, I peeked over the corner to see absolutely nobody at the door of the person who called. In hindsight, I could have told her that I was here at the door, but I was way too nervous to think at that moment. Whoops. I swept the whole floor and used the stairway to the floors above and below and swept them as well, and they were all quiet. I even looked at the tiles to see any shoe prints, and all I saw were mine. There are also cameras shown next to the computer screen, and there was no one outside or in the hall. As soon as I got back to the front desk, I called the resident again to tell her that I didn't see anybody when I was up there. I asked her if she heard it again, and she said she still heard the knocking a bit. I told her the most I could do was write it down in my shift notes and shoot an email about it to the property manager to deal with tomorrow. I'm positive that she was legit because most of the residents there kept to themselves but were pretty social with me, so there wouldn't be any point to creeping me out, and it wasn't even Halloween. I still have no idea how to explain it, but part of me is glad I didn't see anything because I don't know what I would have done since I haven't been in a fight since I was a teenager and I'm 24 now. Yep, gotta love customer service. I've got a couple more experiences that my grandma on my mom's side and her brothers had when they all lived in the Philippines, way before I was born. They involve a ghost on a tree and an alleged demon called an aswang. For another time, and though they're all more creepy than this one if you're down to hear them. Keep on sharing these cool stories and I love your work. Peace. Oh my god, Kyle. I would love to hear some more stories, especially from the Philippines. Like, yes, please send them over ASAP. That was such an intriguing story. Like, I was so into it, and I appreciate the layout that you did as well, because those separate mini paragraphs make it so much easier to go through the story and be able to read it. I absolutely love that story. I wonder what it could have been. Like, obviously you said you couldn't explain it because you swept the entire place. There was nobody there. There was nothing that could prove that somebody was possibly there before you got there. Like, and then the fact that the lady who called said that she couldn't see anybody under the gap of the door while the knocking was happening. Like, unless that person was standing like on the other side of the frame and then reaching out and like knocking like that, so then she couldn't see them from her peephole or whatever. Maybe they were trying to hide from her on purpose. But as you said, how could somebody so quickly disappear from the entire floor in the time that it took you to get there? Because I don't know how big this complex could have been. I don't know how long it could have taken you to get to her apartment door. Once you got up the elevator and waited to get up to that floor and so on and so forth. Like, I wonder exactly how long that took you, because then maybe it could have given somebody the opportunity to leave. Like, maybe they heard her even though she was whispering. Maybe they heard her calling the front desk and they were like, oh, okay, it's time to dip. Or somebody else in one of the other units came out and then they ended up having to leave. That would be the only other explanation for it that I could think of. But in all honesty, it could have also just been something paranormal. And that gives me the creeps even more, because I would want to know more about this girl. Like, did somebody recently pass in her life maybe that was trying to get in contact with her, like maybe see her one more time, and they literally were just knocking on the door trying to let them in? Or have it be like a demon who is trying to enter her home? I don't know. There's a lot of things that could have happened. that could have been the reason for this, but oh my god, I really, really enjoyed that story. Thank you so much, Kyle. Let me see if I have any more that I could read for this video. Okay, yeah. Let's read one more. Let's do story number 4. And this one is titled The Girl in the Dark. Ooh, I'm already scared. I'm already scared from this. It says, "Hi Brenda, I'm Janie and just became a new subscriber and binge watched all of your subscribers' paranormal stories. I've had a lot of paranormal experiences happen to me since I was 7 years old. I'm now 20. Well, I'd like to share my first paranormal experience with you and your subscribers. This was my first paranormal experience I had happen to me. I always felt a scary and unsettling presence in this apartment and felt like I was always being watched, but never actually saw anything with my own eyes. Well, that changed one night. I believe it was around 2 or 3 a.m. when this happened. I was about 7 or 8 around that time. I used to share a room with my 2 older sisters, and our room was super dark when it came to the nighttime. We shared one big king-size bed, and I slept in the middle of the bed. Our bed was against the wall. I felt as if something woke me up, and when I woke up, I started panning all around the room to see if I saw something. Well, I looked against the side of the bed against the wall, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was genuinely terrified. I saw a girl sitting in our bed next to my sister with long black hair covering her face with a white dress. She literally looked like the Grudge. She did not see I was awake, or at least I thought that. I began to freak out and I started to tremble. I started whispering to my sister that was sleeping next to this thing, hoping she'd wake up. Jimena, Jimena, that's her sister's name. The presence that was sitting next to my sister turned to me in a weird manner. It almost seemed as if she broke her neck when she turned my way. She said, "Shut up," in a scratchy, ugly voice. Oh my god, stop. I then covered my face immediately. I started to cry quietly, hoping that presence couldn't hear me. She then said, "Nobody is going to hear you. You're mine," and started to giggle in a creepy way. I then felt she was getting closer to me, and I felt like she was directly on top of me because I could feel her breathing, and she smelled horrible. 5 minutes passed, and I felt as if she just went away. Well, I didn't know because I never uncovered my face again that whole night. Well, let's just say she traumatized me because ever since that night, I could never sleep with my face uncovered, no matter how hot it was, and I would sweat. I did that till I was 14 years old. My mom would always try to uncover me, but I would cry and cover myself up again when she uncovered my face. Well, that was my first paranormal experience I went through, and I have a lot more experiences, including family stories from Mexico. I'll send those in some time, but I'm tired of typing, lol. I hope my story makes it into one of your videos since I really don't write into no YouTuber ever. Thanks for taking your time and reading my story. Oh my god, that was so insane, Janie. 7 years. Literally your first experience at 7 years old, and you had to hide from whatever this thing was for 7 years. Oh my god, I think I would do the same. I would never be able to sleep the same, especially if you were living in that same apartment that entire time. Oh my god, that was so creepy. I did not like that at all. I would not know what to do, dude, because there's been some times where I was little where I was like so terrified that I would do the same thing. Like I would cover myself up and bundle myself up into a little ball with my feet tucked in, and I was sweating, and I was like, I don't care how hot it is right now, I'm terrified. And that wouldn't happen very often because I was used to sleeping by myself a lot of the time, because my sister would my sister was younger than me, so she would be easily scared by, you know, the most random things. So she would leave our room that we would share together, and she would go sleep with our parents, and I would be left by myself to sleep. And a lot of the time, you know, I could just get over it and then forget about it, and then my mom would tell me to pray, and then that would make it easier for me to go to sleep. But I don't think I could get over that. I don't think I would be able to sleep and just be like, oh, I'll just do a little prayer and it'll all be good. No, for the rest of my life, I would be done. But that's so crazy. And I wonder how you finally got over it. Maybe like nothing had happened in so long that you finally were like, okay, I think we're good now. And then you slowly started to be less scared. But oh my God, that was such a good story. And I'm sorry that you had to go through that, because holy crap, that is so scary. Like the giggling and telling you to shut up. I was like, oh my God, that is so terrifying. I would pee myself immediately. I would. And then did you ever tell your parents, like, did they know the reason why you slept like all covered up in the summertime? Like they were like, what is going on, girl? I wonder if they knew. I would like to know. But yes, I would love to hear more stories from you. Please, please, please send them in whenever you can. Thank you for taking the time to type it all out, because I feel you. I hate typing too. So okay, thank you so much. And that is going to be the last story for today's video, you guys. I really hope that you enjoyed the stories today. I really did. They were super scary this time around. As I said, don't forget to send in your stories to my email so I can make more of these videos. I love doing these because I love knowing that these are your actual experiences. But yeah, guys, but before I do end today's video, today's comment shout out goes to this person right here. Thank you so much for leaving a nice comment. I really do appreciate it, and it really makes my day. And if you want to be the next comment shout out, all you have to do is leave me a nice comment down below, and that's it. And I also want to quickly remind you guys that I do have memberships on my channel. So if you hit that join button that is next to the subscribe button down below, you just pay $4.99 a month and you can receive exclusive content that I post only for my members. And then you also get to participate in polls to pick my next topics, and you get these cute little emojis that you get to use in the comment section and whenever I go on live, and many more things. So if you guys are interested, just click that join button down below and you will be supporting my channel directly. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Hopefully I will see you in my next one. Don't forget to stay safe and be kind. Bye bye.